Imagine a nation shrouded in impenetrable mystery. Its borders sealed, its secrets guarded by an iron fist. Within this impenetrable veil, whispers speak of places where freedom dies, and human spirit is systematically crushed. Today, Dark Truth Files dares to pull back the curtain on one of the most horrifying realities of our time: North Korea's prison camps. This isn't just a political analysis. It's a harrowing tutorial on surviving unimaginable dehumanization and the untold truth of how souls endure in the shadow of tyranny. Introduction: The Crime of Descent. A family's fate sealed our story begins in 2007. Not with an act of violence, but with a whisper. Lee Joon-ho, a quiet university student in Pyongyang, was caught sharing a foreign radio broadcast with his family. In North Korea, this was considered a grave political crime, a direct challenge to the supreme leader's authority. The system's grip: guilt by association. In North Korea, political crimes often result in guilt by association, where up to 3 generations of a family are punished. Joon-ho, his parents, and his younger sister, Mina, were all arrested. Their lives, once lived under constant surveillance, were now irrevocably shattered. The journey to the abyss. They were transported in a windowless, overcrowded train, for days, their destination unknown. The air was thick with fear and the stench of unwashed bodies. They eventually arrived at a desolate, barbed wire fenced complex. Guarded by armed soldiers. Kwanliso No. 22. Often referred to simply as Camp 22. A vast political prison camp deep in the remote mountains. The unofficial purpose: Camp 22 was designed not just to punish, but to re-educate political offenders through brutal labor, starvation, and psychological torment. Its true purpose was to erase dissent and instill absolute fear. Joon-ho, a university student, was about to receive a chilling tutorial in survival against a system designed to strip away his very humanity. Lesson 1. The initial shock: stripped of dignity, sustained by instinct. The first days and weeks in a Kwanliso are a brutal assault on all senses, designed to immediately break the new prisoners. Joon-ho's first tutorial was in enduring dehumanization and fighting utter despair. Step 1. The stripping of identity, the processing. Upon arrival, their names were replaced with numbers. Joon-ho became prisoner 712. Their clothes were replaced with ragged, identical uniforms. Their heads were shaved. All personal belongings, all ties to their past lives were confiscated. The barracks? They were herded into overcrowded, unheated barracks, sleeping on cold, bare wooden bunks. Disease was rampant, the air thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and despair. Privacy was non-existent. The rules of silence. Any display of emotion, any complaint, any attempt to communicate with fellow prisoners outside of designated times was severely punished. Whispering was dangerous. Silence was enforced, making the dungeon not just physical, but social. Step 2. The hunger's embrace. Starvation rations. Food was meager. A watery porridge twice a day, barely enough to sustain life. Calories were precisely controlled to keep prisoners alive just long enough to perform grueling labor. Hunger became a constant, gnawing torture. Survival tactic. Every scrap of food was precious. Prisoners learned to eat anything, from grass and roots to rats, to survive. The work quota. Despite starvation, they were forced into brutal labor in mines, fields, or factories. Failure to meet daily quotas resulted in reduced rations, beatings, or solitary confinement. A vicious cycle designed to extract maximum output from starving bodies. The struggle for water, access to clean water, was limited, often shared and sometimes contaminated. Dehydration was a constant threat. Imagine being so hungry your body cannibalizes itself, yet you're forced to perform back-breaking labor. Imagine living in constant fear, not just of the guards, but of fellow prisoners driven to desperation, willing to betray anyone for an extra morsel of food. Joon-ho saw his own parents shrink, his sister's eyes grow hollow. How do you cling to your humanity, to the very concept of family, when the system is designed to turn everyone into a desperate animal and survival demands unimaginable sacrifices? Lesson 2. The Psychology of Dehumanization. Breaking the Spirit. Life in Camp 22 wasn't just about physical deprivation. It was a meticulous science of psychological breaking, designed to turn human beings into obedient, broken shells. Joon-ho's tutorial became a masterclass in resisting this unseen assault. Step 1. The public spectacle, public executions. Periodically, prisoners were forced to witness public executions, often for minor infractions, like attempting to steal food or questioning orders. This was a chilling display of the camp's absolute power, designed to instill terror and crush any hope of resistance. Constant surveillance, guards, informants among prisoners. And the ever-present threat of severe punishment meant every action, every word, every glance was monitored. This constant surveillance created profound paranoia and stifled any attempts at forming bonds or resistance. Forced self-criticism sessions. Prisoners were regularly forced into self-criticism sessions, confessing their crimes and denouncing others. This broke down trust and reinforced the regime's ideology. Step 2. The erosion of identity. Indoctrination. Every aspect of life, from morning drills to evening study sessions, was filled with propaganda, praising the supreme leader and demonizing the outside world. This constant indoctrination aimed to replace individual thought with collective obedience. Loss of family. Families were deliberately separated within the camp, or forced to watch their loved ones suffer. The bond of family, a cornerstone of human identity, was systematically attacked. Joon-ho longed for his sister, but dared not look her way during meager mealtimes. The unseen torture. The true torture was the systematic dehumanization, being treated as less than human, devoid of rights, dignity, or individual worth. This slowly eroded their sense of self-respect and purpose. Imagine witnessing unspeakable cruelty, experiencing constant hunger, and having your very identity stripped away. Yet, deep inside, a flicker of defiance remained. Joon-ho clung to forbidden memories, to the echo of his real name, his mind becoming his last bastion of freedom. How does a human being, trapped in a system designed to annihilate their spirit, find the strength to resist, to hold on to a secret thought? A hidden memory, knowing that discovery means unimaginable pain. This was the ultimate fight for his soul. Lesson 3. The Unforeseen Catalyst. A glimmer of the outside world. Years turned into a relentless blur of labor and despair. Joon-ho, now in his late teens, had spent his entire adolescence in Camp 22. But even in this sealed-off hell, the outside world could, sometimes, inexplicably intrude, offering a dangerous, tantalizing glimmer of hope. Step 1. The Forbidden Object. The border guard's carelessness, while working near the remote camp perimeter. Clearing landmines, Joon-ho noticed a small metallic glint near a guard tower. A young, inexperienced border guard, distracted, had accidentally dropped something. The discovery. Under the cover of heavy rain and watchful eyes, Joon-ho managed to subtly retrieve the object. A small, damaged USB drive. It was forbidden, dangerous, but a fragment of the outside world. The hidden secret. Over weeks, risking severe punishment, Joon-ho found a way to hide the drive. He discovered a tiny, loose floorboard in his barracks, a secret known only to a few old-timers. He knew the drive contained a secret, a potential way out, but also immediate death if discovered. Step 2. The Unseen Network. The listeners Joon-ho subtly observed other prisoners. He identified a few older men who, despite their broken bodies, carried a quiet defiance in their eyes. They were the listeners, those who secretly knew of the outside world from past experiences or smuggled whispers. The silent exchange. Through a series of nonverbal cues, a shared glance during labor, a subtle tap on the bunk at night. Joon-ho made contact with one of them, an old miner named Kim. Kim had secretly seen similar USB drives containing propaganda from the outside. The forbidden knowledge, Kim, communicating in almost imperceptible whispers during shared moments of labor, explained the existence of underground networks, escape routes, and contacts in China and South Korea. This was dangerous. Forbidden knowledge, a blueprint for freedom that was strictly off-limits. Joon-ho now possessed a fragment of the outside world, USB drive, and a whisper of forbidden knowledge, the existence of escape routes. His world, once defined by silence and despair, suddenly vibrated with a terrifying, desperate hope. But how do you use a secret weapon when every shadow holds a spy? Every word can be reported, and the very act of thinking about freedom is a death sentence. The line between hope and utter annihilation had never been so thin. Lesson 4. The ultimate plan. Breaking the chains of a nation. Escape from a North Korean Kwanliso is an act of almost unimaginable courage and ingenuity. Joon-ho's tutorial became a meticulous, high-stakes game of survival where every detail mattered, and one wrong step meant the end. Step 1. The meticulous planning route identification. Kim, the old miner, had vaguely described a disused sewage tunnel running under a specific section of the outer camp wall, a long-forgotten relic from the camp's original construction rarely patrolled. This became Joon-ho's target. Tools of desperation. Over months, Joon-ho, with Kim's subtle help, began collecting tiny, discarded items: a rusty nail, a sharpened shard of glass, a small, rigid piece of plastic. These would be his tools to chip away at the tunnel's opening. Timing the guards, he meticulously studied the outer perimeter guards' patrols, the frequency of watchtower checks, and the noise levels from the nearby mine operations that could mask his digging. Step 2. The covert work. The nightly dig, under the cover of darkness, after hours of grueling labor. Joon-ho would sneak to the barracks' hidden floorboard. He would then, using his crude tools, painstakingly chip away at the mortar around the old sewage grate inside the tunnel. The work was slow, agonizing, and dangerous. Any sound could mean discovery. Survival tactic: use extreme patience. Break down large tasks into minute, manageable steps. Mask noise with existing environmental sounds. Concealment. Each night, he meticulously resecured the grate and covered his tracks, using dirt and small stones to blend the opening perfectly. His survival depended on leaving no trace. The final stretch. After nearly 6 months of this terrifying nightly ritual, the grate was loose. He could feel the cold, damp air of the outside world. The sewage grate creaked open, revealing a dark, muddy tunnel leading to an unknown outside. Joon-ho took a deep, shuddering breath, the first truly free air in years. But as he crawled through, the piercing glare of a distant searchlight swept across the outer wall, freezing him in place. Had he been discovered at the very precipice of freedom? Was this the end of his impossible dream? A brutal recapture in the shadow of a tyrant, or the beginning of a desperate life-or-death dash for liberty? Lesson 5. The dash for life. The perilous journey to the border. Escaping the camp was one thing. Surviving the vast hostile wilderness and navigating North Korea's sealed borders was another entirely. Joon-ho's final tutorial was a desperate race against time, hunger, and a system designed to prevent anyone from ever leaving. Step 1. The Wilderness Gauntlet Beyond the Wire. Joon-ho emerged from the tunnel, exhausted and disoriented, into the desolate, mountainous terrain bordering North Korea and China. The freedom felt surreal, almost terrifying in its vastness after years of confinement. The unseen patrols. He spent days observing, learning the patrol patterns, the blind spots, the shifts, and guard vigilance. He timed his move to coincide with a shift change during a heavy downpour, hoping the rain would mask his movements. The desperate swim. Under the cover of night and heavy rain, he plunged into the icy cold river, swimming silently, battling the strong current. He could hear distant shouts, but he pushed on, driven by the dream of freedom. Step 3. Reaching sanctuary. Chinese territory. Exhausted, hypothermic, and barely conscious, Joon-ho pulled himself onto the Chinese bank. He was immediately found by local villagers, provided him with food, warmth, and a way to connect with underground networks. The Underground Railroad. He was moved through a clandestine network, eventually reaching South Korea, where he was debriefed and began the long, arduous process of physical and psychological recovery. The untold truth: Joon-ho survived. But his survival came at an immense cost. The physical scars of forced labor faded, but the psychological wounds of dehumanization, starvation, and the loss of his family would forever haunt him. He became a voice for the voiceless, sharing his untold truth. Lee Joon-ho survived North Korea's prison camps, enduring unimaginable dehumanization and torment for years. His story is a powerful testament to the unbreakable human spirit, a chilling tutorial on the lengths to which people will go for freedom. But as he lives his life in the light, the shadow of Camp 22 still lingers. His untold truth is a stark reminder that these torture dungeons still exist today, hidden from the world's gaze, a horrifying chapter in human history that demands to be remembered. How many more are still trapped, waiting for their untold truth to be revealed? For more chilling insights into true stories of survival, human rights struggles, and the dark truths hidden behind closed borders, make sure to subscribe to Dark Truth Files.